If you've ever been really, really, really severely injured, either with your body or with your brain, heavy club swinging is something that you need to put in your training from now until the day you die. Let's talk about how you progress through heavy club swinging over the course of 10, 15, 20 years, because you're never done learning. When you stop learning, things get worse, not better. I have been very, very injured many, many times. I think the first time I got so injured I couldn't walk for a couple of weeks was when I was 15. This is because training just simply wasn't very good in the 80s, and we really didn't have any idea what we were doing. So back then we were doing 500 push-ups, 100 pull-ups, and 500 sit-ups a day. What you'll notice is there's no low back work in that progression at all. So your abs get very strong, and when I was doing something, I was moving something in the barn, I twisted and I rotated, and I kind of lost my spine there for a little bit. I had to go to physical therapy in order to get my spine back in line, because nobody had explained to me that the muscles around my spine were more important than the muscles that I could see in the mirror. The second time I got so hurt was a judo tournament. I got picked up, I got dropped, and I knocked my rib cage out of alignment. Once again, the muscles around my spine were not strong enough to maintain the shock load that I was put under. I had back pain from a young age because I simply did not have good training. Over the course of my life, I went out and I tried to find out how to not be in pain. What I discovered is kettlebells and heavy clubs. Let's talk about heavy clubs in this video, but they both do something very important if you want to survive and move well and not get old and not be in pain. Heavy clubs tend to progress through three major ideas. There's more ideas than that, but let's talk about the three most important ones. The first idea is two hands on one club. We call this two-handed club training, two hands on one club. This teaches something extremely important. It teaches you how to do your most important human movements, which are all rotation. When I was young, we were told to lift weights in straight lines, to do push-ups, do sit-ups, and do pull-ups. None of it had any rotation, but everything I did involved rotation, so I was drastically underprepared to do the things that I was asked to do under load and under stress. When you learn two-hand club, it's all rotation. You take all the things that you would have learned in the gym and you turn them all into a rotation movement. You take a squat and you put a club in front of you and you are forced to have better alignment. Your squat gets better, your lower back gets more mobile under load. You start with a lightweight, you go to a heavyweight. You learn inside circles and outside circles, which means you learn to rotate equally well towards your dominant side and away from your dominant side, which means the muscles on either side of your spine get equally strong in all directions. Inside moves towards your center line with your top hand. Outside moves away from your center line with your top hand. So you really have four directions of movement: dominant hand inside, dominant hand outside, non-dominant hand inside, non-dominant hand outside. When you learn a balanced squat, you learn inside circle, you learn outside circle, and then you learn shield cast, you solve a ton of problems at once. You restore your body's natural range of movement and you make all the muscles of your core equally strong. Your spine, the sides, the top, the bottom, and the front. Anytime you swing a club, all the muscles get equally strong. Start with a lightweight, you go to a heavyweight. As the club gets heavier, your core gets stronger at producing and resisting rotation. Side effect is you start to learn to do all of your shoulder therapy. We've all had shoulder injuries. 60% of the gym-going population has shoulder injuries. If you did things like ride horses or do martial arts and you hit the mat a lot, you have shoulder injuries because you're constantly slamming into the ground, hundreds of times every single day. Two-handed clubs fix a bunch of things right away. They fix the rotation of your ankles, your knees, your hips, your spine gets equally strong on all sides, and every move is a shoulder therapy movement. You go to therapy, of course, you do all of your rehab, but then you prehab your body forever by doing heavy clubs. We do two hands on one club first, and most people will get a ton of benefit from just doing three weights. Guys would do, let's say, 15, 20, 25 pounds. Once they get that far, they will instantly see the benefit. It doesn't matter what sport they play, they will instantly see the benefit. But now we have more equipment. We would like people to train even above that. Guys need to go to 30, 35, 40, 45, and to at least 50. A bag of grain weighs 50 pounds. If you have to throw 200 bags of grain in the barn, you should be able to lift a 50-pound club at least 200 times in any of the core movements. Simple idea. Simple does not mean easy. Getting beyond two hands on one club, we go to single arm club. You hold a heavy club in one hand. The other side is not doing anything. And the training changes. When you do two hands on, it's a time under tension protocol. You're trying to do more reps in the same amount of time, which means you're learning to move faster. You're accelerating faster. You're decelerating faster. You're getting more control, and your spine and all the muscles in your body are learning to fire better, more smoothly, quicker. When we go to single arm club, we're separating out the sides of our body. Right hand from left hand. Dominant side from non-dominant side. What you find is that people's non-dominant side doesn't work as well. Of course it doesn't. That's why you have a dominant and a non-dominant side. When you practice single arm club and you go through a single arm club program and you do at least 3 weights, once again, you balance one side of your body from the other. You start to remove the idea of strong side from your fundamental human movements, not from your advanced sport-specific patterns, but from your fundamental human movements. Once again, you start with inside circle, outside circle, shield cast. You basically repeat shoulder prehab and spine prehab and hip prehab and knee prehab forever so that you are never not in therapy that you were doing yourself, and you're doing it progressively from now until forever. When you do that, you also strengthen the way that your brain functions. People who learn to write with both hands have a stronger connection point between the left and the right side of their brain. People who learn to sword fight left hand and right hand have better communication between the left and right side of their brain. It extends that idea then that when you learn club swinging equally well with the left and right side of your brain, the connection between your brain improves over time. This has other ancillary benefits on how you think, or at least that's the idea. We go from 2 hand on one club, single arm club, and then beyond that, we go to 1 club in each hand, double club. It does something even beyond what the other 2 do. Think of taking the movement of 2 hand club with the control of single arm club, and now separating one side of the body, creating stability, and the other side of the body, mobilizing. So one side is anti-rotation, one side is rotation. It's an advanced idea. That's great. Life is long. There's plenty of stuff to do. We can either go up in weight or we can add complexity. You're going to do both over the course of your life. Double club program is unique because it has these anchored movements. An anchored movement is where you're trying to stabilize one side while the other side is doing a complex movement. Stability, mobility, anti-rotation, positive rotation, if you want to think of it in a couple different ways. And then we go back and forth. One side is anchor, then the other side is anchor. And once again, we're working on strengthening the way our brain drives our body. We get better at all athletics as a side effect of this. This is something that people have thought about for all of human history. How do we make better athletes? It's either just go up in weight or it's create more complex movement. You see this with things like circus performers. Barbell guys want to go up in weight. Circus performers want to have better control with more insane circumstances. Sword fighters go from a sword in one hand to a sword in 2 hands to fighting multiple people. We add complexity to the system no matter what. You learn to ride a horse in an arena, then you learn to ride on a cross-country course. When you dirt bike, you start dirt biking maybe on a track, and then you end up on a 50-mile desert race. Things get naturally more complex over time. Club swinging is no different. You can use the same tool and get more out of it by changing the way you approach training. We always want to think of progressing from 2 hand club, think of this as restoring rotation, to single arm club, enhancing coordinated skill and making it equal on the left and right side of our body. And then we go to double club, where we're separating out the sides of our body. One side creating stability, the other side creating mobility at the same time. Simple does not mean easy. I wish that somebody had taught me all of this stuff when I was young. My whole life would have been better. I could have gotten so much more out of my life had I not spent so much time seriously injured. I kept trying to do more advanced things, riding dirt bikes, but not really knowing how to fall off of a bike or how to survive a crash, joining a circus. Nobody told me what I really needed to know, and they didn't tell me I needed 18 years of previous training to do it, so I ended up severely hurt 3 times within the first year. I went out and I learned kettlebells and clubs, and my injury rate crashed down to 0 because suddenly my joints were prepared, all of my muscles were equally prepared, and my mind worked better for calculating complex physical movement. Clubs solve a lot of problems. It doesn't matter what sport you do. It doesn't matter if you're a CrossFitter, if you're a power lifter, if you're an Olympic lifter, if you're a bodybuilder, if you're a high rocks athlete, if you're an equestrian athlete, if you're a dirt bike rider, if you're a swimmer, if you're a mountain climber, if you're a martial artist. Learning heavy clubs will solve a lot of problems you didn't know existed, and it will be prehab and rehab for all of those weird injuries that you've accumulated over the course of your entire career. It's a good idea. I wish somebody had told it to me back when I was young.